shift gears, connect with Atul Lall, Managing Director with Dixon Technologies, talk about the supply chain constraints, whether it's a semiconductor shortage or container shortage or perhaps both. Is that behind? And have things normalized, at least for the supply chain? Mr. Lall, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Your counterparts, they tell me, and your peers, they tell me that of late managing supply chain has been a nightmare for any consumer goods stroke assembly manufacturer. What is the update? Are things normalizing or things are still very broken down?
So undoubtedly, it has been a very difficult phase for our industry, for electronics manufacturing and consumer durable industry. Lately, however, one sees that there is a softening and the supply pressures are easing. And also on the pricing and the commodity side, there is a softening. Another extremely important and impediment was on the freight side, which had increased by almost 10x. But in last 4 to 6 weeks, I'm seeing that the freight rates are also coming down. So it's slightly better, but are we out of the difficult situation? I don't think so. I think it's going to carry on for long. So the industry, and so is the case in Dixon, we are aligning with it. We're in a better position. So because of the longer forecast, better planning, we are not being impacted as much now. And also there is some softening. But the supply chain pressures and the long lead times and high freight rates are going to continue, I think, for at least 2 to 3 quarters more.
So can you quantify for us when you say things are getting from worse to bad? It's not things are looking great. What happens to your projected revenue? Are you looking at migrating your production lines into a particular category? What happens to the aggregate picture?
So it is not triggering any drastic actions or reorganizing our footprint or our product portfolio. It has not reached that kind of a level, and all the more one is seeing that is normalizing. Now, how much it has impacted our revenues, it is difficult to quantify, but there would have been an impact because of this, particularly in the first quarter and the second quarter. However, we still stand by our forecast of around 11,000, 11,500 crores in this fiscal against 6,400 crores last year, and somewhere around 17 to 17,500 crores for next fiscal. So we still maintain that we will be in a position to achieve very high growth rates.
Good morning, Mr. Lall. So you've talked to us about the supply constraints and how it is normalizing. The other problem that companies like yourselves have been grappling with is inflation and the rising price of raw materials. Have you been able to pass that on?
So we have two business models. A very large portion of our revenues come from what we call as the EMS and the prescriptive model, wherein the way the contracts are structured, it is an automatic pass-through. However, we have significant revenues coming from what we call as the ODM revenue stream, which is our own design solutions, which primarily is in two verticals. One is of washing machines and lighting. And in that, there is definitely a lag in passing on. But we have been able to pass on to a large extent. And also, I'm seeing that in the last 4 to 6 weeks, the commodity prices are softening. So have we been completely able to pass it on? No. But a large chunk of it, we have been able to pass on to our customers.
Will that mean going forward, you will be passing on what you've held back on? Is demand that good enough or the order book robust enough?
So it will be a bit of a challenge, but we are pushing for it. And I feel confident that within the next quarter or so, there is Q4, we should be able to pass it on completely.
Yeah.
Interesting. Atul, the next thing that I want to talk about is what happens to margins then from here, given that you're doing a bit of a tightrope walk with supply constraints on one hand and the commodity costs as well. Will your margins be under pressure in the quarter to come as well, or do you think there is a chance for betterment there?
No, so the margins would be under pressure for a quarter or so. Yeah, it will take some time for the margins to normalize and come back to the original shape.
Right. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is your recent tie-up with Acer. Tell us all about it and what kind of additional revenues are you expecting post this tie-up?
So we are one of the beneficiaries of the PLI scheme of IT product. And this is an extremely important diversification within the electronics domain for us. So Acer is undoubtedly an iconic brand in the IT product. Our tie-up with them is for laptops and servers and other IT-related products. The mass production has already started in a newly established facility in Noida. It's going to take some time to ramp it up. I feel that in the next fiscal, the target achievable revenue from Acer business is going to be somewhere between 600 to 800 crores.
Okay. How many of your existing large customers, they have simply moved business from China to India and you are benefiting from them?
So that's a process. I can see that happening across all our verticals. Televisions. Now everything is being produced in India. The imports from China is very minuscule after the government intervention through licensing or through the import duty route. Same is the case in mobile phones. The manufacturing has practically completely shifted into India. And in our case, a significant revenue. Please appreciate that mobile is going to be a very big trigger and a revenue generator for us. That is going to be contributing to our growth. So here, our tie-up with a very large global brand is not only to serve the domestic Indian market, it is to serve the global markets, including US, wherein a very deeply embedded supply chain of this particular brand in China has been shifted to us. Washing machines, again, the same thing. So across all the verticals I'm seeing, that the supply chains are being shifted from China into India for servicing the domestic market. However, in certain categories, I can see exports also, becoming buoyant.
Between domestic versus export, and I'm just using this for the benefit of our viewers. If a company is exporting more, historically we've seen that the realizations, they tend to be better. Are you reaching that curve where you would say that, look, because of PLI schemes and my product mix and my new business, my margins, the pyramid of my margin trajectory will change?
That is the path we are going to pursue. So we have still not reached there because the journey has just begun. However, that's going to be the path that we feel that the revenues being generated from the global markets are going to normalize and improve our margin. But it's going to take some time.
We'll leave it at that. Thanks so much for joining us live today on The Market.